We are not live. We are not live. But we are alive. Hello, lovely Gary.
Hello.
Hello, lovely YouTuber. How are you today? Rachel here, Gary here, with another session, another tea time tutorial. This is where we try and bring you a little bit of positivity. We bring you a little bit of mindfulness, but of course, we bring you a creative endeavor, a creative challenge, just something for you to do that will take 20 minutes and hopefully give you a break from the monotony of life, the daily grind, or whatever is just, as they say up north, doing your head in right now. Because we all have those moments when, I mean, I've said that to people, you're doing my head in, but sometimes life can feel like it's doing your head in. And it's really important to take that time for yourself and get away from that. So the lovely Gary here is an incredibly creative, talented, wonderful friend of mine. I run a company called CraftyMonkies, and the two of us have come together to create this for you. And you know what's lovely, Gary, is that people are now starting to find our content and just play. Creativity helps to really expand the mind and help to relax you. And that's the aim of this channel, is to try and give you a break. So lovely Gary has got a great exercise for us today, haven't you, Gary? We're going to be using watercolours and creating little
Yes, we're going to be using some watercolors, and I've been sort of here in the Western Hemisphere. It's springtime, believe it or not, because it's been a bit wet so far. But if I look out into my garden or I go for a walk, there's flowers everywhere. So my theme today is flowers, and so we're going to be creating something quite floral. I'm going to show you how to make very simple flowers and decorate into them. It's a great doodly activity that once you've learned the technique, I'm sure you're going to be applying it to lots of things. So yeah,
lovely crafter. If you would like to get straight onto that exercise, you can look at the time code below and it will take you right there now, and you don't have to listen to Gary and I's musings on my quote today, which I found. So if you are going, we will see you there. By the way, if you do watch the content today, please hit the like button. It's the thumbs up, really helps us in the algorithm. It is helping, just getting quite a few likes. Of course, if you leave a comment as well, apparently that helps us get out there. So likes and subscribes and hit the buttons, it's all really important to us, and we do appreciate every single one of you who are joining us here on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, or your first time visit. So thank you very much. Off you go if you're going to get creative. But if you're staying. So lovely, Gary, our mindfulness bit for today. Well, you know, you and I are strong believers in the universe. And as I was just saying to you, this legitimately happened this morning to me about an hour before I filmed this content with you. So I have had a very tough weekend. I feel at the moment that, you know, there are lots of things, even though we talk here about mindfulness and how to overcome things. Yes, I use all of those techniques, but there are moments where you just go, everything's just becoming a bit much and there are all sorts of things going on. And today I was sat there thinking, right, I've got to go and do this YouTube. And as you and I have said, this channel is very much in its infancy and it's growing. But we're doing it for the love of it, aren't we? At the moment, we're loving what we do. We have this little break together every Friday, but it's not bringing us millions of pounds. It's not about that. It's about, you know, spreading this creativity. But we would love to have, we would love it, wouldn't we? If we had hundreds of thousands of subscribers, it would be amazing to have this merry gang of people. And sometimes you sit there and you go, what am I doing with my life? And where is it all leading to? And it all becomes a bit much. And I went onto Instagram and I found this guy called Rich Roll. Now he's actually on YouTube. I'll put a link to him below. Not that he needs our help because he's got nearly 1 million subscribers, but on his YouTube channel, he does this amazing podcast. He actually himself is an incredible story because he was a lawyer who was writing a book, but he was also, I believe, I'm sure I got this right, he said he was an alcoholic. And he got to the point where he felt like he was out of control. His life was out of control and he just wasn't getting anywhere and he didn't know what to do. He's turned it all around now. He's turned it all around and he does these wonderful podcasts. I would recommend you go and have a look at his channel because he really talks about similar things that we're talking about, but he interviews these amazing people and really talks about that hope in life and how to change your life and how to keep going. And I like him a lot. But he said this, and I thought this was really inspiring. Success or failure is unimportant in comparison to the opportunity for learning or expansion and the growth that follows. And that's really interesting that he said that, because I also saw another person, or maybe it was him today, and I might have been him doing another film, where he was talking about, you might think, right, well, I'm going to try something, and you try it. And obviously, when you try something the first time, you're not going to be great at it. So you're not very good at it. And guess what? The ego goes, well, that was a waste of time. So, we're not going to try that again. And then you stop trying. And that's when you end up in this hole. And you have to kind of get past that ego and understand, which is what he's saying there. It is not about success or failure. It's about that opportunity to grow and to learn. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be amazing at something. It's about just taking that leap and that chance. And I found that really profound this morning. And I thought, yeah, come on, Rachel, big girl's pants on, off you go. And what happened was very strange that followed, Gary, because when I felt this energy lifting, and 20 minutes later, I got a call, which has led to us now appearing in a magazine in July. Now, isn't that weird? Yeah. I find it weird that when you change your outset, you change your mindset, positive things can happen. That was quick, but positive things will happen. Yeah. So what do you think about that success or failure? It's not about success or failure, is it?
No, and I just, while we was listening to you, I just kept thinking that we value everything with a monetary level, don't we? Oh, that we earned this much from this activity, or I was paid this for this creative project. If I create a painting and I sell it for a certain amount of money, that feels like it's my reward. But actually the reward is, and the learning process is actually going through the process, meeting the people perhaps along the way, giving for, not for money, but for the experience. So, and I've had some brilliant experiences in my time, and learned so much, but it didn't have a monetary reward. The reward was learning that experience and then taking that with me on my journey in my life, So I think we have to keep checking ourselves. And when we measure success, that success isn't necessarily a reward, like a physical reward, like a lump sum of money or a gift or something like that. It could be the reward is that we bank that experience. And we very often, especially here on this channel like YouTube, Instagram, we see these people that seem to have had instant success. In fact, we're probably wrong. It's very far and few between who have instant success. Some of those people, like Rich Roll, have been going a long time, building up his profile, building up his channel, learning along the way until now. It seems so good, so slick. He's got all those followers, but there's been a learning process and an experiences on the way to get there. So I think, don't ever think, oh my God, six months down the line, I'm not a success. No, other people take much more than 6 months to be a success. 2 years, 10 years. A lifetime.
Yeah. And it's the opportunity in that time that is giving you the growth and expansion. That's the success. There is no success or failure. The success is growth and expansion and keeping going. Always keep going, people. If somebody's watching this out there right now, Gary is thinking, I'm not going to keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Best foot forward. Should we make some pretty flowers?
Let's go make some pretty flowers.
Let's do it.
Okay, right. So this is, as I said, I'm going to just bring the image back into play here, into view. So this, and again, I mean, I believe about the doodling, art practice, just having a play is a great way of lifting up that vibe. That's, giving a much more positive vibe. So, when we're feeling down or we're feeling low, I'd say for me, and this practically works for me, and I try and encourage you all out there, go to some creative practice, some artwork or some doodling, something like that. And I think for me, it lifts my spirits. So hopefully it does the same for you. This is a sort of using watercolors, because we've been using a lot of paint recently in bits and pieces. And I've got my watercolor palette here, but I'm also going through this session. I'm going to experiment. I've got some acrylics here as well. So I'm going to have a little play and see if I can get some results with some acrylics. I've got some paint brushes. Really, the paintbrush you need is, and I don't normally recommend a little Diddy paintbrush, but literally these flowers start off with like little dots of paint. So a little paintbrush is really good. And then you need to sort of spread the love, spread the paint, and you need to then slightly wider paintbrushes, bit like this really. But if you haven't got that, I'm going to also have a little play over here. I've got, and it looks rather dirty. This is like a little, I've got a bag of those makeup sponges, and I thought I could dip that in water and I could play with that with my flowers also. So I'm going to have a little play with that too. So if you've got a makeup brushes or a little bit of sponge, you can also, if you haven't got bigger paint brushes, you can use those. I've got always, I have my 2 water jam jars, one for clean water, one for dirty water. So I'm going to put them up there. I've got a hairdryer to dry things off, because we always dry things between processes. But if you haven't got a hairdryer, just wait, be patient, maybe go and make a cup of tea, let it dry off in the sunshine, and then come back to it. So I'm going to then work into it with just some Biros pens. These are just sort of like permanent little sort of like marker pens that I've got here. So that's all I've used. Okay, let's get started. Paper. Need a clean piece of paper. So this is, it's a little bit stronger than cartridge paper. It's no, not cartridge paper, copy paper. So it is like, this is just a cartridge paper. You could use watercolor paper, anything like that. But you know, if you've only got copy paper out of the printer, use it. It doesn't matter if it goes slightly wrinkled. That's not about the, that's not the point. It's about the process, it's not about the outcome so much. All right. Let's apply some paint first of all. So I'm going to just dip my paintbrush in. I'm going to just use the watercolor first, the watercolor paints. I know in previous little artworks, Rachel always says, oh, but Gary, your paint colors are so bright and vibrant. And we will leave, I've sent Rachel the link. She can embed the link into the information on the video, so you can get these. So they're quite accessible. So I'm going to just pick, first of all, bright colors. So think about colors you see in the springtime, like nice pink colors, yellows, purples, those sort of colors, not sludgy colors. So it's about lifting up the vibe with bright colors. So I think I'll just do a little orange one first of all. Now the idea is to actually wet the palette, or wet your thing, and you're just going to create 5 blobs, 5 little dots. Just imagine 5 dots. 5 dots of color, only as big as that. You don't need them any big. And then I'm going to just maybe another color that would look quite nice with them, and I might just put by the side of it a blob of yellow, just a little blob of yellow, but by each one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blobs of color. Now I'm going to try with this wider brush to start with, so the wider one, and I'm just going to dab that in to my clean water. I'm going to get that quite wet. Just tap it off on the jam jar, but you want it quite wet, because then you're going to then use the paintbrush to then just use it to just pull out the color. So you go in at an angle and then you just pull out the color. You go in, so I'm holding the paintbrush up here and I just pull out the color. I am not going back in and thinking, oh, I think I'll just work into that a little bit more. No, I'm going to just work like that. I'm just going to go into the color and I'm just pulling it out like that, letting the water, letting it run. That's fine. I'm putting that brush back in. Let's try another color. Let's do, I don't know, let's do a nice sort of reddy pink color over here. You're just pulling the color out and letting it just bleed, just letting it sit there for the minute. I'm going to try some of this acrylic. Now, if you're using acrylic, what you want is it to be a similar consistency to watercolors. So I'm going to do an orange and a yellow. I'm going to put just a little, and I'm just using the little dab of color, just in case you've got watercolor, some acrylics at home, and you feel, well, I could use these. Get these nice and wet, because I don't want, you want it quite nice and runny, rather than gloopy and thick. So you want to take it away from that sort of double cream consistency to much more sort of runnier, more watery colors. You can use, you might have a little dish like this, what you could use a little plate at home, something to mix it up on, but much more of a watery color. Right, when you got it to the consistency you like, same process. Let's pick up, let's see if we can pick up. So we're going to have a nice little blob, 5 blobs. In fact, I quite like this. I'm going to just dab on 5 little blobs of orange. I'm going to put just a little bit of yellow in there, just a little streak of yellow. So when we pull the color through, we've got like a little couple of colors happening there. So like that, that's fine. And then I'm going to use my paintbrush again and see if I can just get some nice little shapes coming out. Oh, I quite like that. That bleeds quite nicely. So it's much more watery. Yeah, I think that works quite nice. The acrylics work just as well. And you just let them star out like that. Right, let's do one. Let me try one where I'm going to use, go back to my watercolors, but this time I'm going to try, just see if I can get the same effect with a brush. So I'm going to just try with a brush. I'm going to use this nice purple dots of a nice makeup sponge I'm going to use. Right, I'm going to use dots of purple. I'm thinking a bit of a little pansy, so I think I'll do a little bit of like purple, you know, when you've got a purple and a yellow in those. Let's see if we can get that. A little bit of purple and yellow. Go around. Let's see if I can get that to work. Right, so I'm going to use this time I'm going to get my brush. Not my brush, I keep calling it a brush. It's a sponge. I'm going to get my sponge in a little pot of water. So I'm just going to use this end of the sponge, and I'm just going to use that and just see if I can get that to work and just get that to come out. Yes, there we are. So I'm just getting sort of just curving it round in a little curved round shape like that. I quite like that. Actually, you get much more of a sort of separation of the color using the sponge as well. So that if you haven't got a big brush, if you haven't got one of these at home, get a bit of sponge and have a little play with some sponge. If you haven't got, another thing, if you haven't got any paints at all, have a look in the food cupboard. Food coloring is really good. You could just with a little cocktail stick, just do 5 dobs of food coloring on the paper, and then either use a bit of sponge or a brush with some water, and then just use those to just spiral out to get your pictures. I'm just going to just fill in with a few more. Don't need too many on here. Where's me? I'm looking for me purple colors. Let's put a nice little purple up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let them spread out. Like that. I think I need more reds. I need a nice, I'm going to have a red one in here, I think. I'm going to have a look how you're getting on as well, Rachel. How are you doing?
Yeah, something. I am absolutely
Oh,
loving
yes.
it. I'm loving it.
Yes.
Let me
Now,
bring mine into view.
I can see
You
that.
can see it. There we are.
Fab.
Yeah, really enjoyed it because when you first sent me this exercise today, because my paints never seem to be that colourful, but I did say last week, didn't I, that when I use a smaller brush, they seem to be better, and that's working. But I have this one down here was the acrylic. I had to go with watered down acrylic, but
Yes.
or watercolor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be going really well, and this is one of my favorites actually in terms of this is very therapeutic. This is
I quite like the way that you have to sort of like think what you're, once you've done the dabs of color, then you're really concentrating. Your brain is just thinking about moving the wet brush over it and then just pulling those little dots out into almost like petal shapes, but not overthinking, oh, I've got to really work the petal shapes. I've got to really think how they are. Don't be afraid to overlap. So we tend to, when we're placing, we tend to like put things far apart. Have them, they're happy to be overlapping, so we can have them just overlapping. I'm going to do one more, just one more, and then I'm going to add a little bit more color into some of mine. What color haven't I used? I think I'll go for, oh, what shall I go for? I'm going to go for another bright yellow down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add a little bit of that red to it, little red, little dobs of red. Let that go in. I have to confess, my jam jars are now got completely mixed up, and I've got 2 dirty jam jars. But hey ho, it doesn't matter. I'm not getting hung up about it. I'm just getting, what I'm doing is getting excited about what's happening, which is quite nice. Yeah. So, and another thing, what you can do as well is you can, while they're still wet, and I tried this morning, is you can add 5 more dots of color, and then you can then try pulling those through. So you're sort of layering one on top of the other. So you can bring in some more color like that. Let me add another one. Let me do one over here. Where's my purple? There's my purple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let them just come through. Just pull them through. See what happens there, like that. Okay. Lovely, Rachel. So when you've got, I think that probably pull that one out. How many dots have you done in that? Oh, there we are. That's okay. Right, now, what I want you to do, we're going to dry it. And don't worry if they run or bleed. I've got a little bit of tissue here. Sometimes if I've got a pool of water, so I maybe got too much, I think that's never going to dry in the time, especially as we're sort of, you know, we've got to get this done in a certain amount of time. I just use the tip of my bit of paper just not sort of pull it away. I just hold the piece of paper, a piece of kitchen towel over that wet pool of water, and I just let it soak up so it's not too much. Now give that a dry. Right, is that dry, Rachel?
It's dry. Yours is, you see, yours is still brighter than mine.
Yeah. So we will put in the link those paints that we use as well, because they are. I never thought of them being so bright, but yeah, they are. So they're a really good. You know, I use them quite a lot, so they are quite good. Though, but we must remember that this one over here, this one was just from the acrylics. So this one here is using the acrylics, which again is just as bright. So if you get the concentration of the acrylics quite right, you can get some nice effects. Okay. What we're going to do now is you're going to grab a pen, and you're just a pen or a biro or even a pencil, and you're going to then just work into these. So first of all, think about the center of the flower. So I just do lots of series of circles within the center. So I'll sort of do a chain of circles around. So I'm just doing a little chain of circles and then just fill in with some more circles. And then do sort of like this sort of zigzaggy center like that to them. And then I do like little, almost like think about long little stamens coming out. So you might have like little stamens, like 5 coming out. And on the end of those, they may have like little spirals or little circles or little stars on them as well, so they can come out like that. And as soon as you start sort of decorating the middle, the petals you start to see the petals of the flower. So just keep going round. I'm just going to go round and just work into all my flowers. I'm not being tempted to actually draw the petal shape in. I'm leaving it very natural. I'm not going to draw and think, oh, I'll try and draw petals in. No, I'm going to just leave that at the moment. I'm not going to even try that. I'm just happy with the way that the paint has just bled. I'm just thinking about the center of the flowers.
It's amazing when all you have to do is add a few lines and suddenly you're drawing. You can see it.
Yeah, and it starts to come together. And also what we've also discovered as well, and as we've been doing these sort of mindful little drawings, doodles and stuff, is there is a point where you can overwork it. It's actually sometimes it's better left with like a little bit of left up to the imagination. Let the imagination draw the lines in rather than you drawing it in for someone to view it. Let the imagination of the viewer come and just I can see, they say, oh, I can see petals, but we haven't drawn any petals. We haven't put a line around the petals. We've just left them as like the paint, as we've just almost like pulled the paint out from the center.
Do you know what's lovely as well is, Gary, we were talking there in the mindfulness section about, it's not about success or failure, right? But what's fantastic is, that's why I love these little exercises that we do, because I can't believe that anybody does our exercises and walks away from them going, well, that was a complete piece of rubbish that I've created. I can't believe it. Because you always get something out of it. And
yes,
it's amazing that when you showed me an hour or so ago your finished piece and you showed me, the inspiration behind it, I looked at that and thought, there is not a chance I am going to be able to achieve these lovely flowers. And yet now,
and look what you're doing. Look at them.
I'm achieving these flowers. And that is very, very satisfying.
Yes.
You know, it's about doing things in life that make you feel good about yourself.
Yes.
You know, because we can easily listen to those thoughts in our brains. The ego always wants to keep us in a safe place, what it perceives to be safe, which is no change. It wants to keep us in this things that we always know. And so if you feel bad about yourself, it will keep telling you these things because that's your script. That's what you expect. That keeps you feel safe because then you're like, oh, yeah, well, I knew it anyway. I knew I was rubbish at that. Yeah, yeah. This is what these exercises are designed to go against that. You can do this. You can be creative. You can take yourself out of your thoughts for 20 minutes. It's like, really, when people talk about meditation, people always think that means you have to put yoga pants on and sit with crossed legs.
No.
This is meditation.
It's meditation. Your mind is just focused on one thing. You're just thinking. It's like almost like it's a visual mantra. It's flowers. You're just thinking flowers, center of flowers, flowers. That's what you're thinking. That's what you're keep repeating over in your mind while you're taking on this, doing this doodle practice, this mindful practice. It's a practical visual mantra. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just I'm quite happy. I'm not going to overwork it, but I might just have a meandering little sort of vines running down through. So I'm not going to go over the flowers. I'm going to go behind them. So I can take a line down from one and continue it under the other. I might take a line from here and I'm going to continue to the bottom. I can take a line off of it and go behind that flower and up round here. And I might take one up through here and go through there. And then I'm going to just draw little stylized little leaf shapes to my drawing. So I'm just doing that. And that's my little vine. And I'm not actually even going to color these leaves in. I'm just going to leave them as just plain little outlines of leaves, just very stylized leaves, not overwork them, just left it. So just filled in the little gaps, but you don't have to. That's just something I did when I was just playing with this idea. I just put a little bit of a behind it. You can also, another one of my favorite things to do is give it a little bit of a splat. So you can pick up a little bit of your bright color and you can just dab on a little bit of color paint. And that just gives a really nice little finish. That's it, Rachel. Hey. Ta-da, lovely.
Messy hands.
Yes, good. Actually, I'm really clean. I've kept quite clean this time. Last week I had paint up my arm. I was showing you, but I've been quite good this time. Fantastic.
There you go.
Lovely.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Lovely. Let's bring it back to us. There we are. I think that is joyous. I think it's joyous. I do like how yours are brightly coloured, though. I'm going to have to get some of your paints. I'll put the link below.
Yeah.
Well, are we all feeling calm? I think we are. Thank you so much, lovely Gary. And thank you to you, lovely YouTuber, as well. I hope that you've got something out of that. And of course, we've sort of raced through this, haven't we? And we've done this in 20 minutes, which is the idea. You could do this. I mean, you know, if you are working, as I said, in that office, you could literally, that, you know, is what you need, and a couple of paintbrushes, you know, that's sort, and take it with you and just take some paper and just sit and do this. You don't need any other major equipment. You could take these things on holiday if you're going with somewhere. So, you know, it is just about taking that 20 minutes, that meditative process, and just creating and being creative is just so important to us. That's why in primary schools, kids are always painting and making things. It's how you learn, it's how you grow, it's, you know, how the mind grows, and that's what it's about. It's not about success or failure, it's about growth. So thank you so much, lovely YouTuber. Thank you to you, Gary. We'll be back next Friday for another tea time tutorial. And of course, you can have a look through our playlist. We've now gone over 40 videos in our playlist, Gary. Over 40 videos. Yes. And you know the chap we're talking about, Rich Roll, and he's got 925,000 subscribers. I noticed that he's on, I think, nearly 900 videos. So we have a way to go yet, Gary.
We've got a way to go. Have I got enough ideas? I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
I'll be all right.
Lovely. Okay, well, we'll see you next time, YouTuber. And as I say, you can have a look in the playlist. for the other tea time tutorials. And don't forget as well, if you are a sewer, because of course Crafty Monkeys is mainly about quilting and sewing, as well as mixed media, we have got lots of amazing sewing videos for you as well, projects to make, free classes to watch with Gary actually, and lots of other lovely quilters making blocks and things that you can actually really learn some techniques from. So do have a good old look around in the playlist. But until next Friday, take care, relax, meditate, get creative, and just try and take that step forward today. Even if it's just one step forward, take it. See you next time.
Bye.